mind. But hey, I just don't know whether it's quite still up there. We saw it, I believe once yesterday in the East Asia region, and it didn't come out with the goods. Certainly in knockout, it's a bit of a risk, and Team Heretics clearly think it's a risk worth taking. I'm not too convinced. That's up for them to prove me wrong.
I think it's a necessary aggression, really. Also had that super to get over the wall. If Sprout thinks that it can safeguard itself against the Kenji, then it is very wrong, but you have to get that super first. Also, just the ability to heal with your main attack is crucial for Kenji. Just a better Mortis in a lot of ways, especially when it's tough for you to get your super. So we'll see how it executes. Decided to not go for that left side, sort of scouting just in case Humble decided that they were going to go for more of a symmetrical approach to this map, which is usually played left versus right. See Boss also just doing his best to stay on top of Lena, who's now going for the lane switch to the bottom. And Boss, is he going to stay there? Is he going to rotate towards the bottom? Looks to be so. Bit of musical lanes over here to keep everyone where they are ideal.
Yeah, Boss needs to stay on Lena for good reason. I mean, Lu was always historically one of the best counters to a Kenji anyway, so, I mean, that's the confidence that Team Heretics are placing within this brawler in the hands of Lena, and that is the best person to have it, no doubt about it, but he's definitely going to have his work cut out. Herding the sheep it is, though, as Lena takes the top side, and the whole of Team Heretics sort of force things around. And there's Boss popping out the shielding yet again, just surviving on, but he is solo himself. Popped now by iChaos and forcing Semantic into the gas. It's just going to be then Lukey, the last man standing, and he will quickly fall shortly after.
Clean one for Heretics. Managed to bring it home in the end. Humble now approaching left side with caution, as that's where Lena set up his base last time. Decided that it's all clear. Even though they don't have a visual on the guy, they know that he's on the right side. There. Okay, here's a spray out from Lena as well. Just waiting for the perfect opportunity. The banana down from Semantic as well. Just a little bit of banter between the two. Blocked off now as Lena attempted to approach. Semantic has a chance to recover that wall if he decides it's worth it. Got to exercise caution with the gadgets because you only have a few per game. Semantic decides it's not worth it. He's going to preserve it. He's got 2 more rounds to get through if they get taken down here, so he's got to account for that.
Great value there from Lenan going in and finding both Semantic and Lukey. Not much too more than that. They're playing the long game for Heretics. They want the gas to close in and allow Lenan to close the gap much easier. Hypercharge available for Semantic here as well. Nice cookie popper there from Drage, forcing then everyone low. But now taking a lot of taps. The shielding is good. There's the ice block retaliation there from Boss, and Drage falls, making it a 3 versus 2 now. Humble have got the high ground. It's been very tough to penetrate here. Lenan tries to go for it. Has the super down to hand, and the side of Humble, they are low. He's still standing. Finds one, finds two. Semantic, the last man there, and he gets him too.
What a move from Lena! But he cannot relax for even a moment, because that is a realization that he's going to have to make that happen all over again in Game 2 or Game 3, but they're definitely not planning on getting taken down in the next one. Close this one out clean and simple, if possible. A very end-game brawler, but also there are moves for Kenji to be making here in the early game, especially if he can bait some of those gadgets out of Semantic. You saw how impactful that super was in the end from Semantic. Almost kept his distance from Lena, but Lena ended up having more health, as Kenji tends to do. Here comes the aggro right off the bat. Frozen up just a little bit. Not too large of a concern as he's able to keep his distance. Now more of a diagonal dynamic forming here between Humble and Heretics along the mid. Pretty traditional to see on this map. Not a whole lot coming out of it, but it's just the early game. It's the time for Lukey to get his super, time for Boss to get his super, but also perfect moment for Lena to apply that pressure. iChaos catching Boss off guard, dropping this to a 3v2.
I know you've been speaking already, but I'm still reeling off the back of that triple kill by Lena. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's just, I just can't get over it. Unbelievable. I mean, going into the matchup, I said that he's going to have to prove me wrong on this Kenji pick. And I mean, made me eat my words. That's why I say these things, because I love it when players do just that. As Team Heretics again take another round, making this first set look pretty straightforward. We need to see a bit more from Humble now, because Team Heretics are 1 round away from taking the set, and that would be the best way to start a start comparison to early today. As Semantic pops the hypercharge now, finding chaos now as Nan takes the left-hand side. Luki jumping away, trying to find some space, but Nan's not going to take that anyway at all. Gets Boss, finds him as well, straight into Super as well, so he's not going to be able to get any damage dealt along the way. But now goes down 2 versus 2. It's going to be Drage versus Luki and Semantic, and Chaos on that top left-hand side there for support.
This matchup is not looking good for Drage. No AoE from Semantic, but he bounces it off the right side to confirm the kill, and Semantic and Luki combine to get a round win. They were able to fend off the Kenji early on, and then they won the matchup from there on out. So that's got to be the priority, keep the Kenji at bay. I mean, it's exactly what Boss is here to do. But we'll see Luki and Semantic keeping their attention diversified. Chaos popped out of position. No shot, one shot from Semantic, he makes a connection. That's about it. Hypercharge out from Semantic now. Being very cautious about it. Spirit Animal applied to Lana. Takedown on Luki. Heretics in a winning position.
Nan finds 2 slices on Semantic, and now, oh, what a way to finale it! Beautiful stuff! Team Heretics come out on top, and they needed that win. They really did. They had to get off the mark against none other than the reigning champions of the world. Heretics smiling for the first time today, let's be honest, because until now it has been looking relatively bleak. A battle all the way to the 5th and final set earlier in the quarterfinals against Kazaki, but now against none other than Humble. 1 set on the board. Wow.
Heretics absolutely rising to the occasion against the current world champions here. And like you said, the first time they've been smiling today. I do have to wonder if there was a huge regroup after that quarterfinal match. They got their heads on straight now, and we saw some greatness from them. Ready, set, I'm handing it over to you in the replays here.
Yeah, I'm curious about how Humble, did they expect the Kenji? How are they preparing for it? Lou was meant to deal with something like this, but he just wasn't able to keep up. I mean, look at Boss. He's not hitting a single shot versus Lina in the final moments. 3 shots went completely by Lina. So is that Boss not playing well? Is it him not executing? I think it's kind of a tough matchup in like mid-range, where Lou isn't really known for the ease of connecting his shots with the enemy. And then you have Lina dashing all over the place. It's as if he's syncing it up with the rhythm of Lou's reload speed, and that's just skill expression right there.
Beautiful use of skill expression and beautiful expression of skill there, especially as Lana pulled off that triple kill there. I know Ark, it has surprised you. You expected more of that as we head into Shooting Star?
I don't know whether Lenan surprises me with anything anymore, because it's just that good, you know. But I mean, when I see it, I just love it. I absolutely love it. It gets me so excited. And you know, we should expect these things from Lenan, but at the same time, against the world champs, you know, this is a team that are the best in the world, and have not only that, but demonstrated so on the world stage, earned their gold. You know, it's really, you know, especially when you consider the contrast from what we saw early today so far, a much better reformed Team Heretics, and they're giving themselves the best possible chance so far starting things off. But again, you know, that was a very, very bold pick that did pay off for Heretics, but the drafts were in question earlier, so they've got to keep this up and continue to convince me here going into our next map and mode, which is going to be Shooting Star. Bound to the first pick of an Artie. It worked out well in the previous set as well. So the Juju, the Angelo, and the Tick banned out by Humble, the Grey, the Carl, and the Max also banned out on the side of Team Heretics. And the long-range affair is where I always do like things to be for me on this particular map. The Angelo ban's quite key for the mid, and the Juju. I really quite like the Humble bans. They are much considerative of having that coin toss on the side of Team Heretics. So RT never really banned out. It's not really that kind of brawler that's flashy enough to be so. Piper picked up by Humble. I did like seeing the Max combo, which is banned out now by Heretics on that side of the field. So that's always a great counter into the Piper. So it being banned on the side of Heretics kind of opens up this brawler pick for Humble to consider here. And, you know, they are so good with it. Gene as well would have absolutely been on the minds of Team Heretics. We've seen Drage mantling that particular brawler all day long. So a great starting hand. I like it.
Okay, I think that Team Heretics will find their options limited a little bit here, but might find an opportunity to go aggressive. It could be a bait. It's going to be tough because they don't have the Max anymore. Also, the fact that Carl has been banned, I think gives the Gene pick a little bit less value. Potential for them to be baited into something like a Penny by the pick of the Gene, because you got to be able to block that pull. Sprout is actually quite vulnerable to something like Gene. Now, Shooting Star, you might see that Sprout sneak up mid, and you're able to throw over the wall, apply the pressure to the Gene, blah, 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 blah. But that is when we're going to see, like, Semantic come up the lane and then start trying close in from the side. So I see a Blue Star more likely for Team Heretics, just based on what I'm seeing right here in the draft. They're going to have to find a way to keep the Sprout safe. There are options that Humble can go with here that apply the pressure to the Sprout. We saw it in Knockout, okay, the Kenji. Not that it's a primo pick here, but is a way of applying pressure to the Sprout, and there are many such ways to do it.
Again, it's a much better draft for me by Heretics so far. I'm convinced by the Gus. The Sprout is a bit of a reservation, but ultimately the walls can be a great deterrent of Piper. So under pressure, having those down, but also it's in the hands of Chaos. It can change. The names under the Brawls don't necessarily dictate who is going to play it. They can swap, but I mean, Chaos has just been notorious over the years for being such a fantastic Sprout. That's a Brawler though that can be really aggressive into it. Certainly going to be quite a scary one on the side of Team Heretics to consider. That Gus Shield needs to be handed over in those times of peril. Those RT legs need to be available for it. And it's down to Humble to time those advances correctly and accordingly to ensure that they get the maximum value out of that Brawler pick, because it can kind of fall flat on its face. So everyone needs to be really there for the supporting push to ensure that it comes out, surviving from it, because yeah, if you're a Melody player and you're going directly into the eye of the storm, you need to make sure that you're coming out smelling of roses. So some interesting ideas on both sides. I like the fact that Humble have got that kind of longer ranged approach combined with that more close up personal aggressive approach. And the Gene as well, it's a great supporting Brawler to have. You can bring someone back in, gain some stars in those final seconds of the game and turn the tide. So some good ideas on both sides. Great starting hand from Lukey there, a good homemade recipe gadget, forcing Drake back very quickly, and a break to the side. About the perfect setup for Lukey to have on that side, right-hand side to kick things off.
Might be a bit tougher for Boss to apply the pressure that way, but he has occupied the mid-roll. See Drake taking a lot of damage, Semantic trying to apply the pressure from the left side. Can't really, did get a bit of the smoke on Drage to keep him low, but Boss is feeling the hurt from RT. That's fine though, because Humble are in control. Position, maybe not so much. Semantic taken down. Heretics now in the lead. Boss is looking for a chance to get in here. Not honestly the worst for him to have a super near Lana over here on the RT, because when you super in as Melody, it's a pretty non-committal brawler. You have 3 supers to get around. Wow, what a curve from Lukey. Keeping Lana back, now focusing on Drage, and maybe a bit of wall break towards the back right.
Oh, Lukey with a big tap there, a very important one as well to keep Humble in the lead now. Following up again, just shy there of Drage, but so incredibly close to being connecting shot again. He's just so dangerous. As soon as I see the Piper pick, I smile because it's my favorite Brawler. I know what Lukey can do with it. Time is against Team Heretics now. Hypercharge pop there from IKaos, forcing to the right hand side. His attention to Lukey, who's now got jump. Does use it at just the right time. Breaks the wall as well to help the Hypercharge too. So that's going to be helpful in these moments of defensiveness where he can still get the angles, get the shots on that he needs to keep Team Heretics off.
15 seconds left. It's time for Heretics to move in. Here comes the initial wall around the right side. There's also the super on the Drage. Boss trying to apply the pressure. Drage in a bad position. Taken down by Lukey. Another onto Lana. And the final nail in the coffin. It's not going to come through on the top side, but it's still a Humble win.
Better. Much better. But as always, Humble were that squad last year that always remained reserved until the end. And that was one of the things that, for someone like Semantic, who's always so outgoing with his celebratory acts and stuff like that, that was the biggest shift that we saw. And it led Humble to victory. And you can see there, just everyone eyes on the prize, boss focused, everyone looking much more like they are in the zone, more locked in this time around in this set so far. Already another good aggressive start. Actually, boss with the left-hand side, allowing Lukey more of a mid-firming role. Good aggression, good damage as well from Semantic there with the Vengeful Spirits gadget there, just keeping everyone low. Team Heretics now pushing back, trying to advance up upon things. No kills, no deaths. The blue star is with Boss in favor of Humble.
They get backed up, but I don't think they really mind. IKaos doesn't have a wall to keep him back anymore. They're in control. Boss has the ability to apply pressure. What a pull from Semantic! And he almost got taken down. Oh, what a dodge against Lana. That's one, that's two. Body block from Boss with a super in. Lana can't be pushed that much by Boss. What? He went for it anyway. Surrenders so many stars to Team Heretics in the process.
Heretics still behind. That's the problem. And the pressure mounting. Again, time not on their side. Chaos moving forwards, placing the wall. And what a great wall that is as well to push up. But with no super, Boss can't really go on the aggressive here. They've got to be careful not to feed Boss. That's the thing, because Chaos is going to fall. His walls are so good, so quick, but nonetheless, it's dangerous on their right-hand side. No question about it. Lukey low, but healing up now accordingly. Has the hypercharge as well. Can jump away as well. Magic hand now. Dre's definitely cautious around it, moving away from it on the left-hand side. Does not want to feed over unnecessary stars here. Taking damage. Hypercharge for Chaos. Now push coming in. Inbound here for Team Heretics. It's now go time.
Hypercharge available for Lukey, same for Boss. He would love to have a super here. It would help him stay alive. It would give him some shield. Lukey keeps it up onto Lana. He's just one tap on the left side. iChaos vulnerable. Boss with the shield out. Takedown on iChaos. Humble close out the set.
Great control, much better composed there from Humble. And you can see it in there, the composure from Boss and the outspokenness of Semantic, getting everyone communicating, you know, letting everyone know that, like, you know, we're back on track now. We've got the sets equalized out, and the stats say that exact same story. Terrible from Heretics in that regard. Just the one takedown from Chaos, the one from Dre, nothing from Alan. 83 DPS. You know, it's really, really pretty, you know, score, you know, just... It's pretty abysmal, is what I'm trying to say.
Night and day difference, it seems, just in the vibes of their performance from the last set to this one. Now, Reddy, was that what you observed here? Was there a particular difference in what they were able to execute in this last game that, you know, was a bit out of pocket, or this is just Humble hitting their stride?
I think Humble basically figured it out right here. I think also you're looking at like an earlier Sprout selection, which was countered well. And we also saw that in set number one. Sprout picked a little bit earlier, just a thrower in general. It's quite vulnerable in close range. Melody was able to deal with it. RT, it's just not the catch-all solution.
There were some solutions, though, they did manage to pull out. What would you say was the ultimate fix there, Ark?
I think for me, Humble play a very good control game, you know, and they are that team which, you know, can really lock in when they need to, and, you know, just move past things. You know, in the World Finals especially, we saw that very thing take its place. We never saw them, you know, ever get two sets behind. They were just always eyes on the prize, and, you know, as a result, you know, they dropped two sets overall throughout the entirety of the World Finals. That's composure. You know, that's really learning from your errors and your mistakes and coming back full circle to really focus on what you've got to get done. So this is what I kind of feel is always and has been always their best attribute. Putting it into effectiveness right there, now tying up this series, and Team Heretics probably a little bit flustered. I thought the draft was pretty decent, to be honest, but like you said, Reddy, that, you know, Melody counter pick was a really, really solid one. It really forced the hand of where iChaos could really go, and you know, and what he could realistically do on the lane side, because he had to always be very cautious around it. And there, focusing in, but definitely not the result that they were looking for. Going into Gem Fort then for Gem Grab, the bans being Poco, Janet, and Lou for Humble. The Ash, the Kit, and the Max banned out by Team Heretics, who've got the coin toss here as well. Juju.
Like the obvious thing, basically. Juju's going to appear at some point, especially on this map where you have indestructibles. Now, Stu also gotta be a big consideration here. It could be a strong first pick. Keeps you quite versatile, even into a thrower, because you're able to break open walls. Yeah, I mean, and this isn't even like a huge read or anything. This is just how things have been going on Gym for it lately. So now, as Humble prepared to face into this, we've seen some strategies to deal with the Stu. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't. The Colonel Ruffs has not been functional so far, but it's going to take some other kind of mid to keep up with him. And another thing that I will shout out that we've seen on Gym for it is the strategy of making something that will hunker down in mid and just have control. They will never let go of that control. Melody, however, is not headed in that direction. So I'm curious where Humble are going with this, because they have the last pick, and yet they've opted to not save this for a final selection.
bit of a safety net. You know, it's very aggressive, gets in the faces of their opposition, and certainly for the idea of control, Juju as well. Like, it can just go in on that front surge as well. So a bit of an insurance policy, I guess, for the sake of tanks, but certainly with the speed gear, can really make a good standing on those left and right hand side lanes. So I don't mind it at all. Certainly the hypercharge as well. It's really in a good spot for Surge. But if left in that early stage, you know, you are still going to be not doing too much for your team. So you do need to get off to a flying start, really utilize those power surge gadgets, get quickly off the mark, be able to do anything much for your team. Those side really looking to really lock down the mid too much now. Sandy's a great idea for that very thing. I mean, it doesn't lock things down, but it certainly provides that ability to, you know, flush out the opposition. You know, almost to stick around in the mid and be vulnerable to an attack when a sandstorm goes down. So, liking that from Heretics. Definitely my kind of flavor, but a lot of lack of range as well. So, not really the most aggressive of brawlers. Certainly there's that, but it's going to be tickling more than taking down. So, I'd like to see something along those lines, either some range or some aggression or some tanking is exactly that. Frank going to come in, Team Heretics. We're lacking some heals on that front realistically there, but they're willing to take the risk, so I don't mind it.
So what do you do into this Frank? What kind of stun are you bringing to deal with him? What sort of damage are you going to chew through all that health with? I think this is a sort of Colette with a question mark. A lot of times this is how it's dealt with. Into the Sandy, into the Stu can keep at range. Possibly. What is going to lane into the Sandy? I suppose that's where you... Okay, Griff is here to play. I suppose that's where you apply the surge, is into Sandy. That can work. It's just going to be kind of a like Buns matchup in the early game, because he's going to have to use the gadgets in order to compete there at all. Lurk in the bushes just a little bit. Or excuse me, or rather not use the gadget to level up, but use the gadget to reload ammo in the bushes. And that's only if Sandy actually decides to play that lane, because, folks, the game is at mid. That's where the gems spawn. You can effectively play left and right lanes to protect the middle. You have terrain helping you out there too.
Well, I'll be honest, I was not expecting Heretics to get that first set. So to be one apiece now, it excites me. We've got a match on our hands realistically here for Humble as well. We didn't know how they're going to fare going into this one, because at the beginning of the day they weren't really tested too much. Bit of a missed shot there from Boss. IKEA survives on as a result, but Lukey should be able to clear things up there quite nicely. He does so effectively, keeping that mid control of himself and Semantic, forcing back Lenan, who's running the Clash Royale skin. Love to see that as well. Make sure that you are gaining your Supercell ID points as well over on the Supercell store for that side of things, because that's how you get that skin. It's not cheap either. I love you know.
It is not cheap. There's so much I had to sacrifice in order to get it. Lana actually sacrificing a gadget over here as well, completely baited out by Lukey, who's now using the wall to his advantage. No damage from Lana, while Lukey keeps hitting him through the wall. Hypercharge out, looking to pursue iChaos. That's one, that's two more gems for the guy, and he's waiting for number 10 to spawn in just a couple seconds now, with a chance to run all the way back home. Meanwhile, Boss is keeping up the pressure on the right side, so much so that Lana is forced to switch over, and he's still getting hit by Boss. Here comes the gadget and the jump in, eliminated by Drage, but it's just fine, because Lukey is safe and sound. Team Heretics know that this game is over and it's headed to Humble.
That was quick. That was quick, convincing. Didn't really give much to say for the side of Team Heretics there. It was control-based aggression. Ruthless on the side of Humble, leaving no stone unturned there. Just thorough, you know, thorough control. Gems consistently going into their pocket. Not too much back and forth. Team Heretics need to do more of that on their side and bring a bit more fight to battle on. I know swap lanes, but found Boss immediately. That's just, that's unfortunate. I mean, he tried his best to try to take Humble by surprise, but Boss run him like a book and already straight off that first stack. That's exactly what you want, despite that stun as well there on the side of iChaos. Boss coming straight in, swapping to the other side as well, ready for Lenan yet again. And, you know, he's just all over the map. You love to see it on the side of Humble.
Okay, Lukey staying out of range on the right side. A few shots on iChaos, but he's pinched. Gotta be a takedown for iChaos. Lana also wins his matchup, but Semantic's been busy. The demolition crew is coming in to get rid of some of these walls and the bushes. Now, though, massive area control. Boss, Lukey gradually taking damage. Lina not going to get any value from that super. Lukey trying to close in for the kill, but the support from iChaos is too much for Lukey to fend off alone. Thankfully for him, though, Semantic and Boss have started to gain some momentum here around the left side. It's a kill on Lina, and they're going to equalize the gem count by the looks of things. Trying to deny Drage the super for a little bit longer, with Lina about to crash through the window once again with a hypercharge and a super ready to move.
Lukey continues to drop the 2024 champions pin just to remind Team Heretics that they are the underdog of this tale. Pushing that right-hand side, trying to close the gap on Lukey then is Lenan. Gems still spawning in the mid. Drage trying to dash his way around. A bit of 7 apiece at the moment. Boss is low here as well. Very low, 708 HP to his name. Drage falls back. Can't close the gap. No speed, agility, super to be able to do so. So Chaos trying to hang on, and Boss finds a tap. Gems a drop there, and now it's all falling apart. It's just Lina now holding on, and a countdown for Humble. No one from Team Heretics able to say much about it, but the Gems now back in their pocket. No time for the respawn, though, I don't think. One from the mid. Yeah, it's not going to happen. They've got to go on the aggressive. It's going to be Semantic or Boss, and it's going to be now. Gems straight to the hands of Lukey. It's just like Chaos. It's not going to happen. Humble secure it yet again. Another set going their way. Smarts for Semantic. They are feeling much more comfortable about this now. The once early lead from Team Heretics dwindling now as the confidence of Humble continues to rise.
Amazing performance here from Humble. Even though they stumbled for a moment there, they brought it back. Let's talk about Semantic over here. All of that damage and all the wall break that he provided for the team was super valuable. But when we look across the way at Team Heretics, what was seemingly supposed to be the power player in Lina on this Frank just wasn't really able to get up there. That's because he had such a huge undefended path up to mid. He wasn't able to really use any walls. He wasn't playing that left lane. He's playing the open one, trying to utilize his health as best as possible, but getting out DPS'd every single time.
You can see the comfort rise in the Humble player cams as they're now on match. They're on the match point. That's where we are. It's been a long day, and there is so much, and I've been so locked in. And gentlemen, we have seen so much good stuff from Humble here. I have to wonder, of all the teams that have come out in this monthly final, are they looking the strongest to you? Current world champs, but performance today, what would you say, Art?
Yeah, for me at the moment, this was the test that I was looking forward to seeing how they were going to fare in the semi-final stage. And certainly at the moment, they are doing what they do best. The first bit to start things off wasn't great. No doubt about that. And it was great from Team Heretics that they were able to wipe the slate clean from their quarterfinals performance. But since then, that first set passed and Humble started to really lock in. And have so far not skipped a beat since that moment in time. So as we go into what could be the final set for Team Heretics today, could be a ticket for Humble to go into the grand finals of their first monthly finals of the year. They got to get this draft right. Hot zone, open business, and the band's about to come through as well. It's going to be quite a trying time now for Team Heretics. That first quarterfinals was tough, but this is going to be even tougher for them. There's going to be Griff, Barley, and the Byron banned out by Humble. The Berry, the Melody, and the Stew now banned out for Team Heretics. Great to see the Berry ban. Kind of really had to be there, but it does leave Juju open as the top thrower to consider now on this map. But it's a dangerous map to bring Juju in a little bit more so because it's very easy to break everything wide open. Not that much push to get additional range on her, so she's going to be still highly valued, but I don't think she's as good as she could potentially be on other maps. Lou, for that reason, the first pick from Humble. I think that area denial speaks volumes, and the fact that they've gone for it first, I think, is a pretty decent shout. It's going to be quite good into tanks as well. The hypercharge with that immediate stun as well just keeps that in the minds of Team Heretics. For an aggressive player like Linan who's looking to really get up in close personal in your face with the Kenjis and the Franks, that Lu now is going to be a pretty big deterrent of that fact.
I figure when it comes to the Juju discussion, I believe that the Griff ban should make this pretty available. Griff is going to be good into plenty of other stuff. We'll see Heretics opt to pick up the Juju because, folks, someone's got to do it. But the 2-3 combo, how do you make this Juju work a little bit better? Because enemy is going to be thinking about how they're going to disrupt the thrower. their options to do this. Stu, notably, has been banned out by Team Heretics, so that's one fewer option to break down the walls. Let's see how they pair it up. 2-3 for the Juju. Janet is a selection. A control brawler that I think can suffer into a lot of aggression. Humble have enabled this for themselves by going ahead and picking up this loot, which is fantastic for getting control. Also amazing anti-tank by getting some of the stuns. Just a top pick in general in Brawlstars right now. Doesn't even have to be Hot Zone, even though he is the undisputed king of Hot Zone.
You ask yourself the question: are Team Heretics just like organizing their brawlers by A to Z and just going through the J's? Nah, for me, Janet, Juju, can't go wrong there. But the Frank is daunting. It really is a daunting thing, and I really feel like the two brawlers on the side of Team Heretics do the best of jobs. Juju for sure with Grigi will be a good way to deter Frank, but doesn't really have the strongest of DPSs. So I feel like Humble is a pretty safe pick at this stage of the draft, and one that makes a good pairing as well with that loot. Let's see, we want to follow up with, again, I wouldn't mind a bit of range on that side of things, or control for the Juju. Going for heals instead though. Poco, again, I'm not overly convinced by it at the moment, to be honest. We've seen it a couple of times, and I haven't been a big fan of it. Here, I can more understand it. To support the Frank, to keep the heals flying in. Byron banned, they put themselves in a position where there's not many other choices of healers to really help on that front. So does now Team Heretics try to ask themselves the question, what are we going to be going in to address this fact? They're thinking Ashe. It's okay. I'm not sure necessarily if it's going to be the biggest of threats against the Frank and who comes out on top in that kind of back and forth. It's a pretty level matchup for me for the most part, with the heals behind the Frank. I'd put my money on Humble staying on their feet more than the Ashe pick. I think they kind of need to have a bit more of a harder counter for that Frank, if you ask me. But I don't know. Is this a winning draft for you, Ready? Because it has to be one for Team Heretics if they're going to see a grand finals here today.
I'm tempted to say it's a winning draft for Humble just because it's what I'm more familiar with. It's what I've seen win more. Now, Ashe, great brawler. Don't get me wrong. Just haven't seen it as frequently. Into the Frank as well, he doesn't have like a way of stunning Frank, isn't going to outlive a Frank in many situations. And he does have this gadget, but he's going to have to sacrifice a lot of his rage in order to get there. The rats aren't going to do anything to Frank anyway. But it looks like the idea is that they're going to farm super off of the Frank. Semantic closes around from the left side on the flank to get the kill, but the pressure is quite severe from Heretics so far.
Chaos is honestly, I say this every single week, he's such the glue. He is just the glue of the squad, regardless of the roster. Getting that Grigri so quickly early on to establish so much damage. We're seeing a lot of trades, Semantic, the last man standing, but if Team Heretics keep this up, they've got this on lockdown, in my opinion. Chaos on another super yet again, and now just rotating to the left-hand side, keeping things under control. Green coming back in again, and Drage on the zone now, jumping away. Nice play. Love that from Drage with the backstage pass gadget there to jump away from peril. And now Humble's super low. They've got to be forced away from the zone yet again, as now Team Heretics approach over 50%.
Just no contest when it comes to the Rats versus Semantic on this Frank. What are you going to do? Lenad, though, seems to be confident in his ability to farm the super and cycle it, because Boss and Lukey are going to have a much tougher time. Not so much Lukey. He's able to hit all of them in one blow. Ooh, Drage stunned, but there's no one for support. Tries to get the kill on Boss. Hits him just at the end of the ice block expiring, and Team Heretics are climbing up to 80%. That's looking like the point of no return. Semantic even popping that hypercharge with no super combined. He knew it was the end times. This is going to be Team Heretics running away with the game win.
Yeah, really dominant, comfortable. Team Heretics feeling much more in their own skin for me. I didn't think the draft was that flashy. I didn't see any huge mistakes, but I wasn't convinced by it enough to think that Humble couldn't have overthrown it. I still don't necessarily feel that way either. I think that Humble just really got outplayed in every sense. I think the starting hand was so strong by Heretics. And again, looking at what IKS was bringing there, bringing that Grigri in so quickly is what he's got to do now. Look at Samantha. He knows that that was the mistake. Going in super aggressive, very overzealous, a little bit so there, but I think 2 shots away now, Chaos from a Grigri. There it is, and that's where things start to cycle things through. Drake already has super as well. He finds Boss in the skies too. He's going to open up a lot of space now for Team Heretics to take more of a mid-control position.
I think this was a lucky lane matchup for Semantic right off the bat because he got to get on this Juju who could not out DPS him. Oh, check out Drage getting a couple shots off before sitting on top of Boss. He was in the ice block for a moment, dodging a lot of shots. What? Have you ever seen a Janet hypercharge and not even get a kill in competitive? Nice stuff from Boss. Even pops another ice block to keep himself alive. Juju down, no problem. Semantic is on the case. There's so much presence here at mid. Drage now looking for a takedown on Boss, circling around for a second round. The heals are out as Semantic avoided damage for long enough to start healing up. Drage, excellent sidestep to keep himself alive. You don't see that Janet gadget very often, so it's awesome to see the play come out. Boss also with the kill with the hypercharge. Drage once again has cycled a hypercharge of his own, but check out Humble's percentage here. They're up to 86% in spite of a team wipe. Team Heretics have brought it back.
No way, if that play continues on to give Humble, to give Team Heretics the round, it'd be insane. Drake bouncing shots between players, but I think Humble now bringing back this mid. Are going to move on to match point, but what a play from Drake. Honestly, unbelievable stuff, but it's not going to be enough. And now Humble move on now to one game away from being in today's grand final in their first monthly final of the year. Oh, what a shame for Team Heretics there, because that Drake play was honestly just so beautiful to watch. But the difference was there. For me, that difference maker was Semantic. By breaking open so much of the map in an early point in the game, eradicating those bushes, forcing the hand then of where IKS can realistically find value, that was all him. And as soon as the map was open, it really just came to a point where Team Heretics started to dwindle. And there's nowhere realistically for them to do much to really push themselves the advantage. But it is quite close. It is quite tight in this matchup. Anyone can take it, in my opinion.
Oh, Lana, you didn't hit that last shot on Boss, but did manage to finish strong. What a scuffle on the right side. It didn't look possible for Boss to get the kill. It just needed one more shot, but Lana popped out of the stun and healed just in time. Got the win on the lane. Team Heretics took the control of mid, but in the meantime, Lana, he was busy feeding that super to Boss, which gives Humble the control of mid. Semantic also now looking for a chance to break open some of the walls. A kill on IKEOS. No, not going to happen with the stun, but it will happen with the gadget. Hypercharge out. Drage hypercharges, but can't get to the sky. He didn't even use a gadget to get out of the way. So much lost utility, and it's like you're saying, Art, all the walls broken down and nowhere for Juju to stand.
I agree, and Drake's been hitting those gadgets consistently well, and that was the one time that you really had to land it, and had a lot of time, in my opinion, to do so and didn't. No value from Boss there, but it's not going to make much difference. Like Chaos Survives on 300 HP and now taken care of. It's Semantic, 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 followed by Smash, Smash, Smash for me. That's just getting it done for Humble. 85% on the zone, and Team Heretics got so much time to make up for. I don't see it being enough. Humble are surely going to take this round. The hypercharge from Semantic to secure things if needed. It's not even going to be there. So Humble are in the grand finals, and now they can celebrate. They brought it back. They kept their composure, and the reigning world champions continue to dominate this region.
Turn on the lights, Semantic. Okay, there we go. Yeah, they had to turn off the lights so they could lock in real quick. No distractions, no nothing. Only Brawlstars. They still got one more tough matchup ahead of them. But for now, they've cleared out one of the more difficult teams in the competition. Heretics now out of the way, and Humble full steam ahead to the grand finals.
Humble looking so sharp in these matches. So many times we've had to discuss, well, was this the other team kind of tripping up? Was this just them taking advantage? But I really think, and the stats will show here, Heretics brought the fire, especially in that second game of that last set. They look like they had cleared out the center. They look like they could even turn it over. But moments of brilliance throughout from Heretics. Anything you want to shout out that we might have missed before we move forward with Humble into the grand finals? Art?
I think for me, it was kind of what I expected. Heretics didn't have the best start to the day, but they came into this series refreshed, refined. Like getting that first set, I thought, oh, hang about. This could be an upset that I wasn't expecting to see happen. And I'm kind of getting worried for our predictions in every match today, because it has been one of those days. But so far, so good, right? But that was one that could have made me think twice. But then Humble just started to really lock in. Absolutely so. And with each passing set, their confidence obviously gained more and more to it. And I think that the best team won at the end of the day. We've got the team on that side of the bracket, which deserves to be in the grand finals.
Absolutely. And ready as to take a look at the bracket here. Happy to see Humble moving on. Love consistency in the narrative. But looking at Foot versus SK, I think it's a bit of a toss-up. Who are you going with?
I'm gonna go with SK. Even though they did drop a set to Papara Supermassive, Papara Supermassive had pulled off some pretty serious stuff in the qualifier bracket. They actually managed to take down Foot Esports. Now Foot Esports kind of stumble through Team Electros, which was, I think, purported by many to be one of the weaker teams in the competition today. So I'm gonna go with SK to take that one over Foot.
All right, well, we've got greatness ahead in the form of our next semifinal and then grand final match. But we've got some greatness to look back on, too, with these replays. We'll be right back with more Brawl Stars.